Hello YouTube, welcome back to my channel. My name is Javon and I am the Style Garni. So today I wanted to weigh in on a very popular topic here on YouTube amongst the fashionista community, and that is how I afford my luxury items. I think that this topic is very salient and very important to aspiring and current fashionistas to share our tips and tricks of the trade for how we're able to indulge in some of our favorite luxury items without breaking the bank. And so I wanted to focus today's video on sharing some of the tips that I've followed for the last several years, particularly as I've been able to amass what I consider to be a pretty decent luxury collection, which consists of purses, shoes, and other accessories, and even some clothing items. So without any further ado, let's get right into my favorite tips. First off, don't ever pay retail if you can avoid it. And you may wonder, well, how exactly am I going to do that? Don't I need to go into a boutique or a major department store in order to purchase my new Chanel bag or my new Celine bag? And I will say absolutely not. There are several sites out there that sell either pre-owned or brand new items that authenticate to make sure that they are in fact real and that you're not getting duped. And I think that those are usually my first line of defense for when I am looking at luxury items. So one of those sites is called Amuze, A-M-U-Z-E, and I've been shopping the site regularly since about 2013. In fact, I bought my first pair of Bottega shoes from that site. And what I love about it is that you are not paying retail. Outside of being in the state of Maryland, you will not be paying for taxes. And on top of that, you will not be paying for shipping. The reason why I've been using the site is because they are very reputable. They authenticate the items. I know that I'm getting something real. But in addition to that, I am saving beyond just on the retail price. I am not paying any sales taxes, and I'm also not paying for shipping. In many cases, when you either order a luxury item online or if you go into the store and they order it for you, you're also paying taxes in addition to the shipping fees, which can set you back several $100s on top of an already exorbitant price that you are paying for the retail value of that item. And so shopping on sites like Amuze, and the second site which I'm going to mention is Rue La La. And at a later point, I'll do a full review on Rue La La because I absolutely love that site. But it's a member-only site where you can sign up with your email address. You do not have to pay in order to shop on the site. And on Saturdays in particular, Saturdays and Sundays, you can find sales, deals on their Sunday night Style-a-thon where they have various luxe items, shoes, accessories, purses, and clothing items from top designers, from Burberry all the way to Giuseppe Zanotti and Celine and Louis Vuitton, and you can really score some amazing items at a discounted price. Similar to Amuze, in certain cases, you will not be paying for shipping. In fact, I've invested in paying this $50 a year for year-round shipping on the site because it's my tried and true go-to site. So I'm saving on shipping, but also when you shop on Amuze, you are not paying taxes. I'm sure you can see a pattern here in terms of shopping on these sites and not having to pay the sales tax, which again, it sets you back several $100s on top of the retail value of the item. Similar to Amuze, Rue La La also authenticates its items, so these are real designer and luxe goods, and you have the peace of mind of purchase knowing that you have not been duped and that someone already went through the process of independently verifying the authenticity of these items, and that is key. One of my other tips, and I know many people will probably cringe at this idea, is don't be afraid to buy pre-owned. I think that in certain cases, buying pre-owned is even better than buying it at the luxury and retail price. Many high-end pieces, particularly purses, they depreciate very quickly. Some brands just don't retain their value. Prada, for instance, makes absolutely beautiful, well-crafted, quality purses. I mean, Olivia Pope has been slaying Prada bags for like 6 seasons of Scandal now. So I think that we all have seen Prada shown throughout the years, and especially in primetime TV. And it's for good reason. These are very beautiful items, but for some reason, they just don't retain their value. So for me, the Prada bags, the 2 Prada bags that I owned, I bought pre-loved on one of my favorite sites. One of them is, of course, Rue La La, as I just mentioned. And the other is from a YouTube seller, or rather not a YouTube seller, an eBay seller that I've been shopping with for several years now. They also have a brick and mortar consignment store they're based in Chicago area. And I know, again, I can get something that is absolutely real, but also in good pre-loved condition. Buying a Prada bag can set you back several $1,000s at the retail value. And the reality is, if you're going to sell it, you're not going to recoup anywhere near that, less than half of that. So I think that it makes most sense in those cases to buy those bags pre-loved because they don't retain their value rather than buying it brand new. There are other brands that fall into that category, but I think that Prada is the most salient example of how buying pre-owned can serve you in your wallet in the most, favorable way possible. And so there are many people that don't buy pre-owned for many reasons, be it superstition to germophobia, whatever the case may be. But luckily for me, I'm not afflicted with any of those quirks. And so buying pre-owned is another way that you can get yourself beautiful luxury items. And there are plenty of pre-owned sites. I've shopped on Bag Borrower Steal. There's The RealReal. There are, very reputable stores on eBay. There's Vestiaire Collective. There's Tradesy. The list goes on and on and on. And the reason why the pre-loved market is so popular is because you can get a great deal. You can get items that are gently used or never been worn, but just for the simple fact that they've been sitting in someone's closet, you can buy it at a much more depreciated price point, and that's really important cost savings. Third of all, of course, save for the item, and if you can avoid it, unless you have the money to pay off your credit card the next month, do not charge it on your credit card. I know that that is probably a given, but I do think that it's worth stating. Buying luxury items should not come at the expense of paying for your normal bills or even saving for your future. And so that is one of the tips that I've had, is that I would rather buy something outright, save up for it and buy it, or if I charge it on my credit card because I really want the points, that I pay it off as soon as my statement arrives or even before my statement arrives so that it doesn't impact my credit. And that is a really key point. I know that there are many of the YouTubers that I follow that will tell you to cut back on your Starbucks or eating out, and that's great. But I'm gonna go one step further than that. I'm gonna say identify some of the things in your everyday life that you can cut out beyond just Starbucks and lunches because these are expensive items. So for example, do you really need your cable service? Think about it. A lot of cable services are like on average anywhere from $150 to $200 if you have a premium package. And that is a lot of money. Now multiply $200 by 12 and, right? That's a couple $1,000s that you could have spent on designer items throughout the year. So think about things from that standpoint in terms of your lifestyle and your home life. What do you really need? One of the other things that we've done that has really saved us on our energy bill, for example, is switching to LED light bulbs. That can really make a huge difference, as much as like $30 savings per month once we made the initial switch in our light bulbs throughout our house. And we have a lot of light fixtures that we have equipped with LED bulbs. So beyond just thinking in terms of lunches and Starbucks, think in terms of your home life and things that you may not use or need as much in order to be able to afford luxury items. So beyond just cutting back on your utility expenses and thinking more smartly about your utilities in your home, And also cutting back on services that you may not use as much or you may not need, like cable. You can switch to like online subscription services. There's Hulu and Roku and so many other ways in which you can watch your shows. And in many cases, you can live stream your shows. That really thinking about saving that couple $100s a month on cable might be one of the ways in which you can afford your luxury items from a budget standpoint. And I think that that's really key. I mean, saving, $20 a week from not going to Starbucks, yeah, it adds up, but it may not add up as quickly as, say, cutting out major expenses. The other thing that I do, even though I have my car and it has been paid off, I don't use it as much. I'm not going to sell my car because there are moments when I really do need it, particularly on the weekends, but I use mass transit. And my mass transit, for example, is much cheaper than if I were to drive my car and park it in the very expensive Washington, D.C. parking garages. In addition to that, it limits the amount of maintenance and wear and tear that's on my vehicle. So I'm having to spend less on frequent oil changes and services on my car because I am not using it as much. So in effect, in the last few years of using mass transit, for example, I have been able to cut back, I calculated this, about $800 a year just on the maintenance and services on my car because of wear and tear. And that doesn't even include, other things that I would, need to do in terms of major repairs on my vehicle. And so that has been a pretty big cost savings. In addition to that, I'm not spending money on parking. And again, it can be upwards in some neighborhoods as much as $25 or $30 a day to park your car in Washington, D.C. So mass transit is something that I enjoy and I look forward to it because I know that there's a cost savings, associated with doing that as opposed to either owning a vehicle or in this case, putting a lot of wear and tear on my vehicle and paying for parking. The mass transit is the way to go. So just a quick recap in terms of what some of my favorite tips are for shopping. One, look for discounted luxury retail sites like Rue La La and Amuse. Also, don't be afraid to buy pre-owned. In some cases, it's absolutely worth it. Don't be afraid to think about, your monthly expenses and how that impacts you from, your utilities or cable bills and finding alternate ways for, streaming videos and watching your shows. That can result in thousands of dollars of cost savings on cable bills each year. And in addition to that, don't be afraid to, use mass transit. That can be very expensive, especially if you live in a highly populated area. You may not need a car or you may not have to use your car as much and park. By taking mass transit, you're able to save thousands of dollars a year in that you can put toward that beautiful purse or those new shoes or several shoes that you've had your eye on. So I hope this video is helpful. I hope these tips are helpful. Please leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to my channel. I do post videos at least once weekly. And leave a comment below. Let me know what are some of your favorite tips for how you afford luxury items. Until my next installment, stay fabulous and I will see you on the other side. Bye.